Good morning, heart and soul. And thank you, practitioner Robert Williams. Thank you for that prayer. And consciousness, thank you. We thank you, those of you who are tuning in, and even those of you who are in the room with us now. Thank you for including us, including heart and soul, this morning on your adventure in faith. I'm here, I think, always to remind you that we are on an adventure in faith, individually and collectively. And I love it when our adventures intersect in these calm moments like we tend to have here. I know in the world sometimes they intersect in ways that are not at all calm, in ways that are not at all healthy. And so I really rejoice and am grateful for those moments when we can have our collective and the ways that our adventure intersects. And it's calm, it's healthy, it's good. This would be this now moment. So I'm going to encourage you to just squeeze all the juice out of this now moment and know something more about the power of acknowledging that this is an adventure. And doesn't that change it a little bit? Every time I say that and I remind myself, this is an adventure in faith, it's putting it in a context. So it allows me, and I don't know about y'all in your tribe, but as for me in my house, that helps to ease it a little. Oh, this is my adventure in faith. And then I go, okay, so I'm not just wore out. I'm not just broke down. I'm not just all the way tripping. I am on an adventure in faith. And that kind of changes it. It's the same situation, circumstance. It's the same heartbreak and all the stuff. But what is different for me is the way that I'm holding it. The way that what you call a thing? Think of Genesis. That we have the power to name a thing and have the thing conform to how we have named it. So I'm naming this an adventure in faith, and that changes it for me. See, I can work out an adventure in faith in a different way. Yes. So here we are on our adventure in faith, and this morning, I am still grateful. I'm sorry. Y'all have to pray for me sometime. I am still grateful that last week, Reverend Marquita was here. And laying it out for us. Yes? She brought us this idea that none of us could have anticipated, inviting us to say yes to SIRS. And of course, we were all curious, like, what? And she had already anticipated that, but the idea was spiritual inner reserves, working with Dr. Daniel Morgan's work. Say yes to our spiritual inner reserves. And then she kind of worked with it, excerpting from the pieces she was working with, also strengthening inner reserves. And then sharing inner reserves. So that was her offering to us was say yes to SIRS. Say yes to our spiritual inner reserves in all the iterations. I just want to remind you that that's worthy of still working on that even this coming week. To just continue to meditate, to take that in, to allow that to drop into an awareness from which we live actively, intentionally. Yes? So look, Ernest Holmes offers us this idea that the mind principle around you, the mind principle in which we find ourselves, in which we rest, in which we live, breathe, and have our very being, the mind principle, the divine mind principle around each and every one of us is reactive to our thought. Now, somewhere, somebody would just hop up and run out of here, realizing that truth. They would come to an awareness that they don't have time to be sitting here listening to me. That because that is true, They got work to do. And they'd be like, one finger up, excuse me, please. Because I need to get about the business. Now that I know that the divine is reacting to my thought, one, I have to shift my thinking. And I don't know if I can do that while you talk, Rev. So just know that if this is an urgent matter for you, you are excused. Because I'm going to keep talking. And what Ernest Holmes goes on to tell us, to remind us, is that the chief characteristic of this mind principle is in its susceptibility to impression. So this is like not a little personal thing that's just happening to you. It's the way it works. That the impress of your thought. Now, this sometimes it's a little tricky for people because, like, when I used to have a coaching and practitioner practice, or when I'm doing a small gathering workshop where people can really share, I have found that some people, not y'all, because y'all are more advanced and you just have a lot more going on than these people I'm talking about. These people, those people, had a sense of they had already done that. You know, they had already taken responsibility for the impress of their thought. And in some cases, my sense is they could have even have named the date on which they had done that, without having a sense that it is a continuing process. It's a when I awake, when I go to sleep, and everything in between. And really, when we're really doing this work, it's happening while we're sleeping. We are impressing our thought, which is why, well, I affirm it. Some of y'all probably have this experience too. I go to bed intending to know stuff I didn't know when I wake up. And because I have that expectation, that's the way it works for me. I go to bed with a challenge, with something that, I'm like, I'm going to take this to bed. And sometimes I will write it down. Sometimes it's already written down, whatever the challenge is, that goes straight under the pillow. Because what I know is that there is all kind of inner activity that is going on, and my responsibility is to impress it. So I can go ahead and watch whatever little scary stuff I want to before I go to bed, or I can program my subconscious to work on something worthwhile. Yes? It's an opportunity. Everybody's on their individual and in faith. Exactly. Yeah. All right. So the mind principle, divine mind, in which we are. I was going to try to say submerge, but that that would make it something different that we'd be in. Yeah, but we ain't in it. It's in us. And who we are is it. Yet, so I don't even have the language to really capture clearly this. There's no way to separate it. But our language is a very separate language. So I'm likely to fork my tongue at some given time in trying to describe it, when the truth is there is no description. It is me. It is us. It is all there is. And the bottom line around this, with the way Ernest Holmes is saying it, that it receives, now look up and don't be scared either. It receives the slightest vibration of thought and acts upon it. We better clean up our act. Because there's a thing that is happening that we are trying to pretend like we have some neutral thoughts that don't matter. We try to pretend like we can talk about him and her without having that impact anything in our lives, because we're acting as if there really is a him and her. But I've come today to say him and her is me. Now, the moment I said that, there's a part of me that wants to just let whoever wants to talk just come on over here while I go journal. While I handle my business in shifting the impress of my thought Because every time we have an impression that is not expanding our life toward our highest and best, and don't act like you don't know when those moments are, because energetically you can feel it. And here's the thing, if you cannot feel it energetically, you in too deep. I'm gonna need you to come on out the cesspool. I'm gonna need you to just ease your way on up out of that. Because if you cannot yet differentiate, it means you in way too deep. You in way too deep. That's way too familiar. That behavior. Because otherwise you'd get a little, when you talk about somebody, you meant what you said, because they really did do that. But afterwards you just gotta have that don't taste good. So you kind of have to just rinse that out your mouth. That's a clue. And so there's no guilt, there's no, I'm not blaming you, I'm not accusing you, I'm giving you clues. That when you feel that, there's no shame in your game, it's an awareness. Because we can only shift what we're aware of. And so we give thanks for the awareness. We're not mad when it comes to our awareness that you way deep in the cesspool. You don't get mad and just start fighting the cesspool and cussing people out because you in there with them. Instead, it's a wake up. It's a wake up call. I remember the last 20 years, I guess, or something, whatever it was. It's been a long, long time of my corporate career was in sales. And the thing about prosperous sales organizations is there's always an annual sales award, and there's all kinds of, there's stuff for salespeople, and a commissioned, and there's all the stuff. Okay. So we had this big sales, it was our California, so everybody had come, the regional thing, and they had hired, and in these kind of, in these major sales meetings and awards, they would hire people to come in, and so they had hired a hypnotist, and they had the chairs up on the stage. It was at the Scottish Rite Temple here in Oakland, and so they had the chairs up, and they asked for volunteers. Now, there's a thing about me that is I'm a volunteer kind of girl. So somehow I was and up, and you, and up we went. And I was in a chair, and he was starting to go through, like you see on television, and have people do stuff. And I heard as clearly as I know my own name, something said to me, "You are not on a cruise ship. You need to go sit down." And I literally tipped right up during the production and went right on back to my seat. Because there was and this is how I'm saying that when you find yourself in the cesspool, don't fight it. There was nothing for me to say to Mr. Hypnotist, Mr. Hypnotist. There was nothing for me to say. His game was on point. Mine was off. Because I was not willing to hop on one foot. I got a rep to protect. I was not going to do any hopping, wasn't going to be singing, what was I doing up there? There was nothing for me. Do you see what I'm saying? I'm trying to make this easy for us to get there. When you find yourself in a situation that you realize is not for your highest and best, just out of it you go. With as much grace and dignity as you can have. But if you find no grace and dignity, still go. Still go. Go is the highest intention in this, is to remove oneself. Does this make sense? Okay. All right, so look, when we flow in consciousness from wherever our mind is. So some part of that, my being wherever I've been in life, you being wherever you have found yourself, has everything to do with what our thought is, kind of the cumulative effect of our thinking. And often that shows up with a sense of victimization. And we may not call it that, and it may not look like that to others, but it is a thread of less thanness. It's a piece of, you can see, if they put the image up, you can see that it is a place of having withdrawn so completely that we shrink down into almost a cocoon, not a cocoon, but into a fetal position, almost. You see what I'm saying? And it's a pulling in. And what I love in our image here is that there's a ball and chain, which is to imply you ain't going nowhere. You're going to be here. The thing is, it's only you, so you really can decide. You know what I'm saying? My sense is, what I'm predicting is that heart and soulers, the folks who really are deep in there, I'm loving everybody who shows up. If you're in here for 5, 10, 15 minutes, I'm good. We got it. We're in here together. But if you're taking the classes and you're reading the daily read with us and you're showing up and getting prayer and you're doing all of the things, then here's what I know, is you could just be, if you got to take that ball and chain with you. You see what I'm saying? You just go, don't leave me hanging out here like this. Come on. Right? The point is, get up. Get up and get out of an attitude of I don't deserve better. Get up and get out of any sense of life is not unfolding magnificently and intentionally for my highest and best. So if you have to take that with you, that ball and chain that you put there, that's like a surprise. Oh yeah, because whatever that is, because there's only you. You know, there's only I am. And so the I am created this. And that's how it's also going to go away. So we're not waiting for somebody to come and unlock it so that we can be set free. And if we don't feel sufficiently empowered to unlock it ourselves in the moment, I'm not the boss of you, but I'm saying take the dang thing with you. Because that energy of breaking free is a powerful energy. See, that energy of I'm going no matter what. Come on, Mother Harriet, help us out with this. That energy of I'm going no matter what. If they can't change the laws, if I can't be freed, I'm still going. I'm going no matter. I hope this is making sense. I'm hoping you're getting a sense of personal responsibility for your circumstance, because what it is done unto me as I believe, as I am believing, not like I believed when I was on the good foot. As I am believing, in that moment where I'm believing, it works, but maybe it don't work for me. In that moment when I'm believing that there's some question about the viability of my life, of my being, it's as I believe. And it's never about what you say you believe. Never. It's as I believe. Right in the cut of believing. So look, our August theme, this is what This is what our Prayer and Care Village and our licensed practitioners are offering us. That for August, it's courage. And can I say for good reason? Because ain't none of this happening without the courage. This that we're talking, in fact, Maya Angelou said that is one of the highest virtues or values, because without courage, you're not doing none of the rest of them. Whatever else is on your list is your highest value and your virtues. You're not going to even get to those. If you don't have the courage to change them, forget about it. Yes. So here's the affirmation. Strength and courage are my divine birthright, and I am now expressing My true self. And didn't we start out talking about that you and the divine mind are one? Your true self is in divine mind. Divine mind is in you. So the truth about you is the truth about the divine. So this is putting me in touch with an awareness. Now, for anybody who's like, you're talking kind of fast, Rev. And so this notion of my true self, what is that? I need you to be still with that. This is not one of those where you raise your hand and somebody can answer you. What is my true self? And then I go, oh, well, allow me to reveal to you your true self. No, your true self is you. And if you're not in touch with that, that says you got work to do. And your work is getting in touch with, who am I? That's a journal opportunity. Write the question on them. Write that on the mirror. In your journal, that'll all be good, but write that on the mirror. The one that you are in most often. Whatever mirror that is, it could be a little bathroom, medicine. Just, you know what I want? The one in the bathroom where you are likely to be there when you wash your hands, when you put on a little something and you brush your teeth, all of that. Who am I? Who am I? And just let that, see, this is not for your conscious mind to answer. So you don't have to worry about what you're thinking about it. Let it come to you. Put a little pad right there to the side where it won't get all wet. Put a little pad and pen. And what comes to you, make a note, because you may be surprised who you really are. You may be surprised about the truth of your being that your subconscious is holding that you've been ignoring. You decided and designed that you are somebody you're not. And of course, because you designed it and you think that what you designed you need to keep working with, you don't even realize that you're living a false life, a false cause to your life. Does that make sense? That you just made up. You just made up. I told you all that, let's see, I had to have been probably about 8 years old, I think, about 8 years old. And my whole family went to spend the weekend, probably a long weekend, a holiday weekend at my godmother's in San Francisco. And so I was accustomed to just being there by myself for vacations, weekends, whatever it was. So here we all are, and I'm in charge because I'm the one who knows the home. And so they had in that house at the time, a very steep staircase to downstairs, which would then take us out to the backyard. So here we all are, the 5 of us siblings. And I heard my father say, "You better hold on to that rail. You know you're clumsy." Now, I heard it, and I immediately held on, and we went on. And for decades, that voice would come up from time to time for me when I'd be doing something. And then one day, I questioned it. And I thought, I was a dancer and an athlete as a youngster. There was never a time I was clumsy. I said, "Oh, shoot," in the vernacular. He wasn't even talking to me. There were 5 of us. I thought he wasn't even talking to me. And I carried that for decades. So he was, I think by the time I clarified it, my father may have already transitioned. So you see, it had nothing to do with him. What is it? It is done unto you. It don't matter whether it's true. What matters is that you believe it. And there was some part of me that believed it. He never called my name. There was never I didn't reason it out then. But it's this idea that we must have the strength and the courage to discern our true self, who you is. So look, Dr. Daniel Morgan for August 15th, you know our daily read is Guidance for a Spiritual Journey. And I have selected August 15th to talk about today. And, but maybe yes, I am. Yes, I am. Dr. Dan says the right mental attitude means a great deal. Can you see that? When you're in that fetal position and denial and questioning and under it all, your mental attitude makes a difference. A mind filled with a mind filled with optimistic thoughts has no room for pessimism. Now, I know I'm pushing against somebody because they're like, that's just positive thinking. And all I have to say to you is, what's the alternative? So if you're not willing to join me in some positive thinking, where are you going to be? What you doing? And what I'm teaching, what I'm endeavoring to practice is not as simple as positive thinking. But it includes that. You can't get all up in this unless you bring some of that. Does that make sense? Yes. Okay. All right, so look. This idea of the right mental attitude is also our spiritual inner reserve. Today is a blessed day. So how are we going to use it? Thank you for asking. How will we make the best use of this blessed day that today is? Have some ideas. Malcolm Gladwell, the author of the 2008 book, Outliers, wrote that 10,000 hours is the magic number of greatness. He says that the meaning behind this in theory is simple: to be considered elite and truly experienced. Now, this idea of elite, you could apply to an athlete. So there are a lot of folks in the field, but we know that there are the elite athletes, like Serena, like Tiger. You know what I mean? They're head and shoulders above the folks, their opposition at given times. And those of you who are a real sports fan, you could just go on and on and on with the list. Do you know the difference already between the elite athlete and the athletes? Now, the athletes are cutting it up. They're chopping it up as well. But they're not at the level where their name rolls off of everybody's tongue. Yes? That's what we're talking about. We're talking about, he's saying that for those folks, they have invested this 10,000 hours of what I call time on task. And that is I think, more specific sometimes than we give credit. So we have to have the courage, first of all, to change something. Because, no offense, but what we're doing is not working. It's just not working at the level that we intend for it to work. Because whatever it is we're up to, we would, not in comparison to others, but we would want our own game to be an elite game. That is to say, whatever it is I'm doing. Answering the phone, doing customer service, walking, whatever it is that you're up to, you want to do it at a level of excellence, which means you're going to have the courage to change something. If you're not already breaking the ceiling, if you will, cracking the ceiling with what you're doing already. And that's not a criticism. You get to decide. What is your game? What is it that you're up to? Once you decide that you want to live your life in any particular area, including the entirety of your life, but let's just look at the circle graph that we often use of life. So in relationships, maybe it's health and well-being. Let's go with health and well-being. That ought to make me a lot of friends this morning. We'll go with health and well-being. Because to a person, we tend to Well, let me not try to speak for you. It feels more comfortable for me to speak for you, but that means I need to speak for me. That there is a level of health and well-being. Let me give you a quick preview. I don't even know what the number is, but there's a number for in allopathic medicine where when you hit that number, the conversation changes. I apparently missed the runway to it, but I am apparently at the number because the conversation changes. Where I used to go with whatever it was, and it was treated in a way that kind of made sense to me. Now it's automatic. And do you know that they have a medicine for that thing that they don't even know what that is yet? And it's largely because they have discerned my birth date. And my birth date seems to be driving the thing. So if I want to have a different experience, then I need to come out of the typical numbers, which means that I must have the courage to make some changes that I often don't want to make. Because there's also something about having had these many birthdays that I kind of feel like I ought to be able to do what I want to do. But it turns out that that's not so. That I can't do what I want to do and have what I want to have. And so sometimes I'm often standing in that place of, am I going to do what I want to do? Or am I going to have what I'm committed to having? And unfortunately, they don't always match up. Someone sent me a little a dietary plan. I'm guessing. Because I haven't looked at it yet. I don't know what it is about this that they must spray a little truth serum up here before I get here. We're like, just in case she was planning to tell somebody else's story, we'll just let her take a whiff of this. So look, I feel like I'm going to get to that. The truth, I still had some chocolate-covered nuts and fruit nuggets. I'm here looking for a friend. Just one friendly face. Because somehow, in my mind, I thought, oh, if I read whatever this food plan is that I'm feeling like is going to be beneficial. You know, my sense is that it has something for me. So much so that I thought, you can't look at that till you finish these. I'm just telling y'all the truth. I'm trusting that it's safe for me to tell. And I know I'm the only one. I know y'all don't do this. So I appreciate your grace with me. Because some of y'all are confused that this even happens in life. You didn't know that people were even doing this kind of shenanigans around here. So I'm just going to ask for your grace around it. That I literally made sure that I just did not look at that. And the person said, so did you? It was I still have a few nuggets left. And I know the nuggets aren't on the plan. And once I look at the plan, I'll really have a hard time enjoying the nuggets. And I only had a few more to go. I wasn't going to gobble them all at once, to my credit. I was kind of pacing myself. Oh, Lord. Y'all quit spraying that stuff up here. So look, it's clear that what I was focused on having be true in my life is the treats that I wanted to have. So I have like I probably have 100,000 hours in treat selection and storage. I'm just trying to tell the truth because it may make a difference for somebody. But the goal would be to begin building the 10,000 hours in a shift and commitment to health and well-being. But since I am accepting eating plans, should there be one that includes the little chocolate nuggets? I'd be willing to look until I really am committed, to beginning to acquire 10,000 hours of focused attention on what I know will make a difference and what's probably already in my email. So for some people, the question is, so what does it take to get to 10,000 hours of practice? And here's what's important to understand about this, is that it's not just it's not eating the elephant in one bite. It's not how fast can I accrue 10,000 hours. It's instead changing the patterns of your life so that it's incremental, so that you're doing some, but only enough. This is a thing that I'm learning with work, and so much of my work is right there in front of the computer. It's writing and meeting via Zoom and all. And so now I am consciously saying, I need a rest. I need a rest. And that's a new thing for me, because it used to be you just do it till it's done. And my eyes would be crossed. I'd be, in a mood. The quality of the work becomes very poor, by the way. So this ain't that. What this says very specifically is, first of all, that the practice time must deliberately focus on learning a particular skill. So it's truly focused on, what is it I'm learning? What is the change that we're looking for? Yes? And then even within that, this deliberate practice is defined as a highly structured activity, the explicit goal of which is to improve performance. Okay. So what is shared here is that from virtuoso musicians to elite athletes, top performers spend 4 to 6 hours daily in intensely focused, deliberate practice. This is to break the folks who decide to earn their 10,000 hours 100 hours at a time. That instead, it's probably about 5 hours. And what they have determined is that there are diminishing returns when you try to do it. Like, I'm just going to spend all day doing what I had said I was going to do over 3 days. Oh, y'all don't even know what I'm talking about. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, I'm going to allocate a few hours each day to work on this thing I'm working on. Come Thursday, I have not done that. So instead, what I'm going to do, because I'm not going to do it today either, I'm going to spend all day Friday doing it, which would be the equivalent of having done the 2 hours on Monday, the 2 hours on Tuesday, the 2 hours on Wednesday, and you see what I'm saying? So instead, I haven't been able to do it Monday through Wednesday, and I'm clear I'm going to the movies on Thursday. So I can't do it on Thursday. So that means Friday, I'm going to do everything before we go out that night. Is that, am I the only one? I'm just out here on my own, right? Y'all just going to leave me hanging, acting just like we don't know what she talking about. We have never heard of anything so strange in our lives. I know my tribe. That's all right. You can try it if you want. So the idea is that we have to have the courage somehow, to hone the courage to do the little bits that are required of us as it is required. Part of me wants to just lay out here right now. Just the whole idea kind of wears me out because it's pushing against the patterns that I've set of not doing what I know to do and planning on making it up later. Eating howsoever I want to eat, and then I'm going to just fast for a week. Now, I didn't fast on Wednesday morning, but I'm going to fast all week next week. Just like I don't know me. Just like I'm just meeting me and deciding, you didn't do it for the 3 hours, but you could do it for 24. Y'all have to pray. So look, Neville says the great secret of success is to focus the attention on the feeling of the wish fulfilled without permitting any distraction. That all progress depends upon an increase of attention. I've already revealed in the most embarrassing way that my attention was on the little chocolate nuggets with the nuts and the fruit. In my defense, I'd never seen them in little nuggets before. It had always been the Cadbury bar, the fruit and nut bar. And so when I saw the little nuggets, it was like y'all don't understand. Y'all don't understand. All progress depends on an increase of attention on what you desire, not what you're trying to let go of. Is the point here. Look, Dr. Dan says, God endowed, God propelled, God inspired, our power limitless, our intelligence boundless, our love infinite. He asked, is there any circumstance, any event, any limitation in time and space greater than that power within our eternal soul? Let me just tell you, it's not the little chocolate nuggets that have the power that is greater than my eternal soul. And so it's up to me to make the shift, to come to us in awareness, to act as if I know that nothing is impossible. With spirit, with love, everything is possible.